Hello and welcome back, or for those of you that have never seen me before, my name is Jess and I am the owner of So Much More, which is a small dressmaking fabric shop based in Tavistock, Devon. So for today's video, it's a bit of a different one. This is a bit of an experiment. I don't know how it's going to go, but I thought it would be fun to bring you along to make the closet core Fran pajama top with me. I am not going to actually be making it for pajamas. I'm going to wear it as like an overshirt because I quite like the style of it. But basically, I cut this out 3 weeks ago, if not more than that, and I just haven't had the time to sew it. But that is kind of a lie. It's not that I haven't had the time, I just haven't made time. So part of this vlog is to kind of hold myself accountable and force myself to make time to sew, because I enjoy sewing. There's so many other things that I end up prioritizing over it. So this vlog, is to try and hold myself accountable a little bit, and also to show you the makings of behind the scenes of the closet core Fran shirt. It's not going to be quite a sew along, but I don't know. I don't quite know how this is going to turn out. I'm making it up as I go along, so who knows? But that's what this video is going to be about. So like I said, I cut this project out weeks ago. I've got the little pile of it here. I am making it in our pink check. I think it's a cotton polyester blend. I'm making it in that because I think it'll be really cute for summer. So it's a pink and white check. And the first two steps, which I'm hoping I might be able to get done today, because I'm going to be sewing it whilst I'm in the shop, because again, a couple of months ago, I brought my sewing machines down from home to the shop thinking that might help give me some time to sew, but so far it's made no difference. But the machines are now out the back in the shop, and it is 2 p.m. on a Wednesday right now, and the sun is shining, which means the shop does tend to go a bit quieter. So I'm hoping I might be able to sneak some sewing in between any customers that come in. So I don't know how much I'm going to get done today, but the first two steps are to attach the pocket to the front of the shirt and to also construct the collar. So that's kind of my goal, to try and get those two steps done before the end of the day. And yeah, we'll see. Like I said, I don't know how this vlog's going to turn out, but I'm going to bring you along for the ride. Right, so those first couple of steps were really easy and quick. So I have made my pocket, which you can see there. I've folded it down and then ironed the seams back, so that is what I am now going to attach to the shirt. So I don't know if you can see that, but I've made a tiny little mark from the pattern, which is where the top corner of the pocket should go. So I am just going to line that up now. The other thing that is great about using this fabric is because it has got a check on it, it means that actually I've got more points of reference to make sure that I'm lining it up nice and straight, because I can match the check, which is very, very handy actually. So I can just, match the lines as I'm attaching the pocket. So I'm just going to do this roughly for now, and then I'm going to give it a really good press to make sure the pocket is laid flat completely, because I don't like a pocket that is loose and hangs all over the place. But yeah, like here, I'm able to just use these checks to make sure that horizontally this pin is blunt. Do you know, does anybody else have this? I've got a load of blunt pins, and rather than throwing them out, you see what I just did? I just put them back in the pot, and then it's a never-ending cycle of me getting really annoyed that my pins aren't sharp enough and not doing anything about it. Anybody else, or is that just me? Anyway, so I'm just going to pin that in place, give it a good iron. I think this needs adjusting, and then I'm going to attach this pocket to the shirt. So now it is time to join the collar pieces together. So I've got one interfaced piece and one non-interfaced piece, and I'm just going to join those together, right sides together, with a 3/8 seam allowance, and I'm going to pivot like this on the corners so that the corners stay nice and crisp and fresh. I'm just stopping along the way to help ease the fabric because it is a curve, so it doesn't lay completely flat, but you just ease it with your fingers so that it will lay flat. I also am someone that doesn't use a foot pedal. I prefer this stop-start button. I feel like I have more control, which I know is probably a bit strange. I think a lot of people probably feel the opposite, that you don't have as much control, but I do for some reason. I think because my hands are so close, I think it's, yeah, easier to control. It's easier to control the speed as well, I find. And then I'm just going to stop and pivot again on that corner. And just come down the edge here. And then the next thing I'm going to do is just trim around the edges. I'm going to cut diagonally here on the corners because that helps when you turn it the right side out. But yeah, I'm just going to trim the seam allowances now. I've just jumped ahead and done a couple more steps without showing you, naughty me, but I'm just going to show you now. So these pieces here are the long facing pieces, and I have finished the outer edge like the pattern says to do. Closet core is different. Most patterns that I've done, they would just tell you to overlock this edge, but instead they've told you to fold it over twice and stitch it in place, which I guess is neater because I'm assuming this ends up on the inside of the shirt. I suppose that does look neater, let me show you the right side out, than having an overlocked edge. But I don't know, it's one of them things where I don't know whether it's more effort to sew it like this, and I'm lazy, so I think I'd be all right with just an overlocked edge. But I mean, I'm assuming that's the reason they do this. We'll find that out. So anyway, I've done both of those, and then I have attached those facings to the back yoke, which I turn this the right way out, you'll be able to see. So it's looking a bit like that. Okay, I'm going to stop there for the day because I've done more than I thought I was going to be able to do, and it's also time to close the shop. So yeah, I'm pleased with how far I've got today, and I will be back hopefully with a bit of time tomorrow to do a little bit more. Hello, so this was supposed to be the following day, and I could lie to you and say that it is, but it's not. It is 2 days later. It is now Saturday. The shop has been so busy the last couple of days. You might spot behind me, I've got all these new fabrics that I have been trying to sort out. In fact, by the time you see this video, you will have already seen a video about these new fabrics. But I have still got to sort them out. So you see these wider ones. I need to fold those and put them onto bolts. But I figured, do you know what? As I said at the beginning of this video, I need to prioritise sewing, else I'm never going to do it. And it's a Saturday afternoon, so it makes absolutely no difference whether I sort these out now or if I sort them out early next week. So that's what I'm doing. I'm prioritising. So these I'm just going to ignore, and I'm going to start sewing and see how much I can get done this afternoon. So the next step after attaching the facing pieces to the yoke is to attach the collar to the right sides. So I've got notches in my collar and I've got notches around the facing. So I'm going to match those up. I'm going to start with the centre back notch. So I've got the centre of the collar and the centre of the yoke. So I'm going to match those up. Then I'll go around matching the other notches, and then it should quite easily lay flat all around, and then I'm going to stitch that into place. Okay, so I have attached the collar to all around the neckline there. So that's that step done. And then I also have just joined the front bodice pieces to the other yoke piece that I have. And then I'm on to the next step, and I've actually read it and I'm already a bit confused. So I am slightly lying because I am skipping this top step here, which is to attach a loop to the top of the shirt. I'm skipping that because I don't actually plan to do this up. I'm going to wear it as like an open shirt, so I'm not bothering to put a button at the top. But the next step, it says, right sides together, align front and outer yoke to facing and inner yoke along centre front and neckline seams. Bottom of facing will align with a notch along top front. Honestly, you know when there's just a lot of words and they all just go in and out the other side, like I have taken none of that in. This is one of the, I don't know if I've done a closet core pattern before. I think I have, but I've not done very many, and I do struggle because I'm used to Tilly and the button patterns where each step is photographed and this isn't, and this particular step that I don't quite understand isn't photographed. So, and I'm very, very visual, so I find that really hard to follow. So let's try again. So I'm assuming that these two pieces have to go together. That's what I'm figuring out. So right sides together, which would be that way, like that. So the two yoke pieces match. So what did it say? Right sides together, align front and outer yoke. So that's those, I think. That would be that and that. It's not going to lay completely flat, so I don't know if I've done something wrong. No, keep going, right. So right sides together, align front and outer yoke to the facing and inner yoke along centre front and necklines. What? Right sides together, align front and outer yoke to the facing. Well, the yoke is here, so these must be the front and the outer. But what do you mean to the facing? I mean, are they just telling me to join them here around the neckline? I feel like that might be what they're trying to say, but they've not said it in a very simple way, because that would then go around here like that. I'm not sure if this is making any sense to you, as it's not making any sense to me. Goes around that neckline, around like that. You think that's what it's saying? Right sides together, align front and outer yoke to the facing and inner yoke along centre front and neckline seams. Wait, centre front, is that down here? So is it wanting me to attach all of this? Hang on, let's skip ahead to the neck because there's pictures further down. The next step after that would be stitch at 5/8 of blah, 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 starting at the bottom of the right side. Oh yeah, around the neckline and ending at the bottom of the left side. Okay, so it does want me to attach that. That's what it wants me to do. So basically, after this really long-winded version of me trying to figure out what they meant, they just want you to attach this with the collar to the front bits. Easy. I feel like, am I being stupid? But I don't think that makes that clear. This is the instruction. Right sides together, align front and outer yoke to the facing and inner yoke along centre front and neckline seams. To me, that does not sound like what they want me to do, but I've established. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to attach this facing all the way up the top here, all the way around the neckline, and then all the way back down to the other side. That's what I'm going to do next. Okay, so as much as those instructions were slightly confusing, I am pretty confident that that is what they meant, because what I've got now is resembling a shirt. So if I put this over my head to show you, I'm quite excited actually. So the collar is now all in, and like I said, I know the instructions did seem really, really confusing, but actually once I figured out what they meant, I actually really like this way of constructing a collar. I've done quite a few collars before, and that I've always found them quite messy, and like you have to be really precise. And yeah, I don't know, I've never really found a collar construction that I really liked, but actually this, everything is inside the facing, so it's all really, really neat, which I quite like. So there's no like join that there often is in other patterns that I've used, and sometimes if you're out by like even like a millimeter, you end up with like a bit of a hole between where the collar joins the facing. But this construction means that that doesn't happen, so I do quite like that. As much as it was a little bit confusing to understand, now I understand it, I'm like, oh yeah, I do quite like that. So yeah, look how cute this is. I think it's going to look really good. So it's got facing all the way down. I've obviously given it a good press, but it has no back right now. So that's the next step. I'm going to be putting, I think it's a pleat. I think there's a box pleat. So check the instructions. That would probably be helpful. Yeah, it is a box pleat into, hang on, can't open it up, the middle of this piece, and then this piece attaches to the back yoke here. But so far I'm quite pleased. I think this is going to look really cute. Right, so I'm going to put the box pleat in now. So the instructions say to match the outer notches along the top edge of the back top and fold flat. So I have got, I don't know if you can see this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notches along the top here. So it says to match the outer ones. So that's that and that. I'm just going to stick a pin in that just so that they're matched together and I can kind of see what I'm doing. And then it says fold flat, which I assume means like this. This is falling off the counter. So there's the pleat at the back, and I'm assuming when it says fold flat, it means fold it flat like that. And then those notches are all going to match up like that and that. So I'm going to pin that in place, because then I just want to check that it looks right, because I don't trust myself, but I am pretty sure that is right. So let's just put another pin in here. And then I think we should have a box pleat. Yeah, nice and simple, isn't it? So all I then need to do is baste this in place, just to make sure that that pleat is completely in place, and then attach that to the back yoke. And just like that, the back is attached. I feel like holding it up like this doesn't really show it in its best light, does it? You can't really tell what it is. So let's just put this over my head so you can get a better understanding. I think it's caught up. So like I said in the previous bit, I just literally did the box pleat and then attached it to the back yoke. So there's 2 yokes. This is the outer yoke, so I've attached it to just the outer yoke. I'll take this off again in a minute so that you can see. So it's just attached to the one yoke piece, not the inner yoke. Can you see how this bit is still flapping all over the place? That's because I'm going to do the burrito method, and basically all of this is going to get rolled up inside of this, and then all of your raw hems are inside, which is a really fun method. I've done it quite a few times and I do quite enjoy doing it, but I feel like this is a good place to stop for the day, because it is actually, I've stayed here half an hour later, the shop is closed, so I think this is a good point for me to stop, but I will be back and the next step is the burrito method. It is a week later, but we're not focusing on that. We're just going to jump straight into the burrito method. So I need to open up the whole shirt and lay it flat. So you kind of need a big space to do this. So I've got my front pieces facing up here, Not quite sure if the camera is showing you this. Let me pull it down a bit. So, like I was saying, I've got my front pieces here, the back piece here, and then in here is the loose yoke piece that hasn't been joined. So I need to roll these pieces up. So I'm going to roll them as tight as I kind of can. I don't worry too much about it, but roll this up to the shoulder seam here, like that, and then do the same with this other front piece. I might just fold it like that and then roll. So it needs to be quite tightly rolled, just because you need it kind of out of the way. So the tighter it is, the smaller that piece is, because basically this is going to come over and it's all going to join in. So you need them to be rolled quite tightly just so that they fit. And then from the other end, I'm also going to roll the back piece up. And then I'm going to check the instructions in a sec to check that I am doing it right, but this is how I remember to do it. So then once that's rolled up, I have this seam here where the back piece was attached to the outer yoke. That's that seam there, and I'm pretty sure this loose bit of yoke comes over and you attach it to that same seam that I just showed you. I'm just going to check the instructions to make sure that's right. Blah-de-blah. Once the front and back pieces are rolled all the way to the shoulder seams, fold the inner yoke up and over the roll, match the back yoke seam, pin into place, and sew all 3 layers of the back seam together. Yeah, so that is exactly right. So that is my loose inner yoke. I'm going to fold that over. I might need to redo this and re-roll these because it's not particularly tight. And that then joins along this back yoke, which is technically 3 layers, and you have all of those rolled up pieces inside this tube here. It's one of them things where you have to just trust the process because it looks wrong. Just trust it, it will work out. So I'm going to attach along here, and then I'm going to sew that in place all the way along here, and then yeah, and then I'll be back because then I'll pull it all out. It's a bit like birthing a baby, this. Once you've sewn this in place, you then pull it all out, but I will do that first and then be right back. So I've sewn that in place and it looks like this. So it looks really, really weird. But now I'm just going to pull these out the right way round and really hope and pray that I haven't caught any of those rolled bits as I've sewn this seam. Half of me thinks maybe I have. So yeah, just going to pull those out, but you have to do it quite gently because you don't want it pulling on the seams that you've just sewn. But you see, it's a lot of trusting the process, like I said, because it looks wrong. Like, look at this, it looks an absolute mess, but I'm just gonna trust it and keep pulling it all the way through. And just like that, it's done. So what we've just done is it's all of those seams are now caught inside this facing. So this is the inside of my shirt, and then that is the back of the shirt. So it's just really neat. It's a really neat way of doing it. So I think it now needs a really good press along here. And I think the next step is, I think you have to press it and then you have to top stitch along the yoke. So just check that that is right before I do. I always skip ahead because I think, oh, I know what I'm doing roughly. No, that is right. So I'm going to really give this a good press, because from obviously turning it and rolling it. So glad I didn't catch anything in that seam. I really thought I had, so that's a good thing. And then after that, oh, it's onto the sleeves. So I'm going to go and press that in place and top stitch it. And then I'm moving on to the sleeves. So I have skipped ahead a couple of steps. So the cuff piece of the sleeve, I have pressed in half. I can show you that. Here, I've pressed it along there, and I've also pressed the long edge in by 13 millimeters. So that's the bit that's going to end up on the inside of the cuff. I have then also just pinned that cuff piece to the sleeve along the bottom here. So I am just going to sew that in place now. And now that is attached, the next step is to sew 2 rows of gathering stitch around the top of the arm. So that is what I'm going to do. So it's obviously going to be gathered into place. So I'm just going to make my stitch length as long as it will go on my machine, and I'm also going to pull out this thread so that it's nice and long when I start stitching. So let's find the top of my sleeve, which is here. I'm hoping I've got notches. Instructions tell me to do it between the notches. Yeah, so between the notches that I've already cut in place along the shoulder. So I am just going to stitch 2 rows of basting stitch around. So then once I get to the end, rather than just snipping this, I'm going to pull out so that there's a nice long thread at the end, because basically when I'm gathering this shoulder sleeve up to fit into the armhole, I'm going to be pulling on these long threads to gather these stitches that I've just put in place. But you don't have to worry too much about these stitches because they get pulled out at the end anyway, so you don't actually see them. But don't worry if you have to keep stopping as well to go around the curve of the arm. It does sometimes you just need to lift the presser foot to let it lay flat. There we go. So I've got 2 rows of gathering stitch around the top of my sleeve. So I'm just going to do exactly the same to the other sleeve now. So I now need to attach the sleeve to the sleeve hole. I don't know what it's called. So I'm going to start just by matching up the notches. The only thing with this fabric is it's very hard to tell the difference between the front and back, but I am pretty sure this is the back. So right sides together, I'm going to match the center notch of my sleeve to the shoulder join at the top of the front and the back where they meet. And then if I go around, the notch here on my sleeve should then match to the notch that I've got on the front bodice part. And then I'm just going to match it at the corner as well. Not going to worry too much for now because it's going to take a bit of fiddling to get this in completely. because of the gathering stitches. So like that's obviously too loose now against the armhole, but that's okay because that's where the gathering stitches will come in handy. So I'm going to match the back notches together. Where are they? There and there. And then the same again for the end pieces. So now it means I can see how this piece of the arm, the sleeve, is way too big for this gap I've got here. So I'm going to pull on those stitches that I just put into place, and it should gather. Yeah, you see how it gathers up the sleeve? So I'm just going to pull on both of those. I'm going to pull on them too much because now that is now too tight, but it means I can move the gathers around and loosen it until it does actually fit in place perfectly. So it doesn't need that much gathering then. I think it's just so that it eases into place. So here we go. It'll be like that because now that fits against the main. Oh, there's another blunt pin. Try again. So it looks like that. So I need to move the gathers a bit around here because that's a bit loose. There we go. So I'm just going to pull on it and get it basically to fit in place all the way around. I'm going to do the same thing here. And then I'm going to stitch that into place. Okay, so I have attached both sleeves. So I've gone through and unpicked those original like basting stitches, and I've overlocked the inside seams. So this should now be looking more and more like a shirt. So that's exciting. So obviously it's not done up, but that is what it's going to look like. That's going to be folded. So I don't know if I can roughly like that, which is exciting because yes, it is starting to look like a shirt now with sleeves and everything. Does anybody else do this? Try on projects multiple times, like halfway through when it's definitely not constructed, but I'm excited. So I'm going to stop there for the day. And yeah, I don't think there's that many steps that can be left to do now because it's just going to be sewing up the sleeves and the side seams and the buttons, and then it's basically done. So yeah, this shouldn't take me, famous last words, this shouldn't take me that much longer to make, which is very exciting. Right, so my next step is to join the side seams. So I'm going to flip this so that I've got the right sides together, and I'm going to join, I'm going to try to lay out the side seams and all the way down the arms. So with the side seams, there's what do they call it again? Let me get the instructions. There's like a split. Hang on, let me find it, and then I'm actually telling you the right thing. A split hem, it's called, on the side of the shirt. So it just means that, I don't know, you know, like on a shirt where it's got that like flappy bit where it's not completely joined all the way down. This has got that, and I'm going to give it a go. So it means I've got notches that I've already marked on the pattern. Show you. Can you see the blue marks here? So this blue mark here is the split hem notch. So I've got a mark here and I've got a mark on the front bodice. So that's where the side seam is joined, and then you leave this bit here loose and you do something else with that in a minute. But so I'm going to match those notches first. So right sides together, and I'm just going to match that. I've obviously made a mistake here because this should be a notch, but it's not. I've used a marker pen to mark it, but anyway, the marks are matching, so that's fine. And then I'm just going to go up and match the side seams. I'm going to match under the arm first because I want that bit to make sure that it's correct all the way along. So I'm going to match under the arm, and then I'm going to go down the sleeve. So the sleeve still has the cuff that I haven't done anything with, so it's a really long deep cuff right now because it's not been like where I've pre-pressed it. You see here, it's still like this, but the instructions say that you sew all the way down here to the end, so that's what I'm going to do. And then I'm assuming after this the next step is to sort the cuff and make sure that it lays completely flat. So I'm just going to go along, match all these notches, get these laid flat, and then stitch that in place. Right, so I have joined the side seams all the way up the sleeves and I have overlocked them. So I have finished those seams. So I've got a rogue pin flying all over the place. Okay, so the next step is to sort out these super long cuffs that I've got going on. So you can see that I've already pre-pressed them. So I'd pre-pressed them 13mm here, and then they're pressed in half. So basically what I think I do is I fold it back down along that half line that I had pre-pressed in. I don't know whether this is going to be easier if I do it inside out. It will be. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to turn the sleeve inside out, like that. And then, using those lines that I had pre-pressed, I'm going to fold that down onto that pre-pressed line because the line is half of that cuff. So then you can see that where I have pressed that 13mm bit here, it's really hard to show you, but it covers the seam of where the cuff and the sleeve actually join. Can you see that seam there? So this is going to come down and cover over it. Quite clever. It's quite a neat way of doing this, I think. So basically what I think I have to do, I should probably check the instructions, shouldn't I? But I'm assuming makes the most logical sense, is that I need to pin in place. Hang on, it's coming all out, so it's a bit fiddly, but pin in place this cuff to make sure that it is covering that raw hem there. Pin that in place. I'm just going to double check the instructions. So it says press the pin into place from the right side and then stitch in the ditch. Okay, slightly more complicated. So what I'm going to do, so this is inside out. I'm going to do it like this. I don't know if this is how you're meant to do it, but I'm going to pin this in place. This is the inside seam, and then I'm going to flip it the right side out and I'm going to pin that in place. Then I'm going to turn it the other way around and remove the pins that I've put in from the inside. I'm going to do it like that because I want to be sure that when I'm stitching this from the outside that I am actually catching this seam. I don't want it to go all skew-if because this is meant to be neat, and if you go skew-if, it's not going to be neat. So yeah, I'm gonna take my time and make sure that I'm catching in the seam when I'm stitching this. It says to stitch in the ditch, so in case you're not sure what that means, so this is the seam here. This is the join between the cuff and the sleeve. To stitch in the ditch, it literally just means stitching along this join here, and if you get it dead on, you end up not being able to see the stitches. So I mean, you don't have to worry too much, and to be honest, because of the fabric that I've got, you can't really see the stitches anyway, but yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So it's a lot of pinning is basically what I've got to do right now. But I think it's probably good to take my time on this bit because I'm getting close to the end and I don't want to mess it up. And I feel like this is what tends to happen with me. I get a bit like bored and I want to hurry and then I end up making mistakes. But I'm not going to do that. I'm taking my time. It doesn't matter when I get this finished. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. A lot of pinning. So that last clip was actually filmed on Friday. It is now Wednesday and I am absolutely determined to get this finished today. I don't think there's a lot left to do and I just want to get it done. I'm getting like, you know, when you get agitated because you just think, I need to finish this thing. This has taken me, this is like 3 weeks in the making now. I'm like, it's getting done. It's getting done today. So first step is the little split hem things, which I have got here. So they're just little rectangles, both interfaced on the back. I got the pattern piece out as well because it's got a load of markings that I haven't transferred. So I'm going to transfer the markings. But basically, by the looks of it, what I have to do is join them together, right sides together, and match the markings. When I say I haven't got the markings, I've got some of them. I haven't transferred them all. But the one for this step I have got. So I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. Can you see there's a tiny little blue mark here? Basically, I need to sew from there to the top. Easy. I can do that. So yeah, I'm just going to run and do that now. Okay, so I have sewn that seam here. You just open it up so I can show you. Sewn that seam there and then pressed that seam allowance out, and then I've gone round and pressed the outer seam allowance here and here, and then press the top in as well. So you end up with a piece that looks like that. And I have put my markings, which you can see here, little blue marks. So that then needs to be attached somehow to, you find it, the split hem that I've got on the shirt here. So obviously there's 2 of these. So let's read the instructions. The instructions say, where are we? Here. Right sides together, align split hem facing, which is that, to the hem opening on the top of the back, aligning the circles. So the circles are just the little notches that I've marked with my blue pen. Note that the corner circle on piece H, I don't know which one piece H is, piece H is the facing. Does not have a corresponding, okay, that's fine. With the split hem facing up and catching only the top back, start sewing at first circle and stop at corner circle on piece. Again, that same thing that happened at the other day where it's a lot of words. I think going from pictures rather than the instructions, because these just don't make sense to me, but the pictures do. So this is the piece. What they mean is you sew from here, stop there, and you pivot, and then you go up here. And basically, I think that because you've got markings on your actual shirt, so that is going to go right sides together and then basically match up the markings. So you've got this marking here is going to match this marking on the shirt. I mean, at least I think this is right. This looks right to me. So then, I don't know if you can see that, but I've got a tiny little blue marking here on the inside of the facing. So basically start here because that's this part. Hang on, can't show you very well. This little circle here is here. Come along to this circle here, which is this one, and then go all the way up to the top. And actually, right in the middle here, don't know if I can show you, can you see that? There's a tiny little blue marking at the top there. So basically that then attaches to this bit, and then you do the same on this side. I'm pretty sure that's what that means, and that makes sense, so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm starting at the first circle and I'm just going to go until my needle lands exactly on the second marking. Then I'm going to leave the needle down, lift the presser foot and pivot the whole piece until it's lined straight, put the presser foot back down, take my pin out so it doesn't get in the way, and then come back up the other side until I meet that blue mark that I've already got at the top. And I want to make sure that the needle is exactly on that blue mark. There we go. Done. So now I'm going to flip that round and give it a really good press. So this is what it now looks like. So I've turned it the right side out. This, what you're seeing, is the inside of the shirt. I've then folded the hem up. So it's all really quite neat. You can see like the hem then fits into that split hem. This is the front of the shirt. If I flip it over so you can see what it looks like from the right side. So there's obviously two split hems as well. So you've got one on one side of the shirt. Oh, that needs to be sorted out. I pinned it in the wrong place, but that's kind of what it looks like. So you can see it's neat on the outside. That's what it's like on the inside. But I'm going to move that pin because that's not right. And if I don't move that now, I will forget and then I'll sew it in the wrong place. So that is what it looks like from the outside. So it's all just, yeah, nice and neat. So I am now just going to go along. I think the instructions say that you need to sew up here, around here and down here first, and then go along and stitch the hem in place. So that's what I'm going to do, is yeah, get this bottom part of the shirt finished. Okay, so the bottom of the shirt is now all hemmed. It's all nice and neat, which means I am so close to being finished. All that I've got to do now is the buttonholes and the buttons. In all honesty, it feels a little bit of a waste of time because I don't plan to ever wear this done up, but then I feel like it might look a bit weird if I don't have the buttons on there. So it's really just for show than anything. It's not for functionality. The buttons I'm going for are just our 2-hole white buttons because I just want something simple, because the shirt is nice and simple. I just want a nice and simple button to match. But yeah, cross your fingers that these buttonholes work out. But I don't know why. It's always the end of the project when you're so close to being finished and then you've got to do something like a buttonhole that I mean, I'm sure it's not for everyone, but for me, buttonholes are notorious for going wrong. And it's like, this is the final stage. Don't want it to go wrong. So pray for me. Right, so I've done a practice one here and it all looks right. So let's be a brave girl and try it on the real thing. So I have made little marks, you can see here, using the guide from the pattern. They had a buttonhole guide, so I've just transferred those marks. Now I'm just going to make sure that this facing is laid completely flat, because that's what I'm worried about, because you've got this, like, this is the inside facing. I'm worried that when I stitch this buttonhole, it's going to be all like lumpy bumpy and then it'll be a nightmare to unpick. So I think that feels completely flat. So let's line up the mark. I can't see it. It's the only thing with this buttonhole foot, because it's so big, it's really difficult to actually see what you're doing. Right in the middle there. Let's bring the needle down and check. No, it's slightly out. There. And then is that straight? Yeah, right, okay. Moment of truth. Hold your breath. Let's go. Oh, it's worked. Look at that. A nice, neat buttonhole. So what I'll do is I've got some fray stopper that I'm just going to put around those stitches, and then the way I open up a buttonhole is I use a seam ripper. I know that that's probably a bit bad and you're meant to use, I don't know, all sorts of fancy tools, but I've always just used a seam ripper. So I'll put some fray stop around here just to help those stitches and the actual fabric, because this fabric does fray quite a bit. And then I'll stick my seam ripper in there and just pull it up to here. I mean, I've been doing it a long time, so I don't worry about going too far, but if you're a beginner, I'd maybe not do this, because it's very easy to go too far over this and cut through these stitches at the top here, which again, complete nightmare. So you don't want to do that. But yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So I've got 4 more buttonholes to stitch, and then I'll sew the buttons on and I'm done. And it's finished. How cute does that look? I love it. So in terms of sizing, so I have made a medium. My measurements, so I'm a UK 12 to 14. My measurements put me at a large, but I knew that this came up big. So I did size down. So I've made a medium, and I think it's a good oversized style. I mean, if you want it tight fitting, you might want to size down more than that, but I think this is a good amount of loose on me. So I have put the buttons on and the buttonholes, but like I said, I don't think I would ever wear this done up. It's just not my style. I'd wear it loose like this. The only thing I would say, the only thing that's bothering me slightly in terms of the fact that this is a pajamas pattern is the sleeves. So I think it doesn't look like pajamas apart from the sleeves. This bit here, this cuff, I think is the only bit that really looks kind of pajama-y. I mean, it's fine, but if I was to do another one, I think I just wouldn't bother adding a cuff, and I would just extend the sleeve. Speaking of, I am tall. I'm about 5'11", and these sleeves are a bit short on me. I'd probably extend them by about an inch, just because they just feel like, if I'm moving, they feel a bit short. But this also, if you roll the sleeves up to kind of hide the cuff, I think you'll be able to see what I mean. Of it then doesn't look pajama-y at all. Do you see? That looks really cute. So I think it's just the cuffs that make the shirt look like pajamas. I mean, the pattern is for pajamas, so obviously it's going to look like pajamas, but I think that's the only thing. Let me turn around so that you can see. I think the collar is all flat, so it's really cute at the back. I really like this box pleat that it's got in it, and then it's also got the pocket I did at the beginning. But yeah, I just think it's cute. I think perfect for summer. I love the colour of this fabric as well, and yeah, I'm really pleased. So thank you for watching. I really hope you have enjoyed seeing this video. I've really enjoyed making this, so I'm really hopeful that you enjoyed watching it, because I'd like to make more of these. I'd like to do more of these sew along style videos, because it's really helped keep me accountable with sewing and coming back to the project, because this has taken me, I think it was 3 weeks ago I started this project, and it has taken me 3 weeks of just doing little bits here and there in the shop. And ordinarily, I think if I have to leave chunks of time between sewing, I lose interest and I don't want to return to that project. But because I've been filming it, it's made me like motivated and want to return and finish it. So yeah, I've really enjoyed making this video. I'd like to make more, so I'm really hopeful that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please let me know, because that means I can make more of this, yeah, sew along style video. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Hopefully you like this. This is the closet core Fran pajama shirt that I've made to not wear as pajamas. But I hope you like it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in next week's video.